you have a story, you want a reading, you want me to help you with your life, you have a health problem that you can't put your finger on, and you're like, why is my shoulder constantly in problem? And you want me to read it and you want me to get into it. I'm not that medical expert, but I can tell you where the emotion is attached to it. I think you'll be surprised at how powerful that is. So I would love to hear from you. Go to lisawilliams.com/podcast-guest and we will get you on the show. Hi everyone. Before we begin, I want to let you know that this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. The advice and insights shared here are based on my personal experiences and expertise, but they are not a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, or business advice. If you are dealing with a specific issue, please consult a qualified expert. And thanks for watching. Hey everyone, so today we have decided, well actually I didn't, I had no say in all of this. Ray decided that he was going to ask me some questions. We've been working together on and off now for a long time. And he asked me all of these random questions. And so he said, these will be really interesting for everybody. So here we go. We're going to get Ray's brain and he's going to ask me all of these questions because it's all these burning questions that he wants to know about. And I believe that maybe some of you want to know these answers. So, Ray, good morning. Look at you with your fancy smancy shirt.
This is my new rule. If you want to get attention, you got to make a splash.
That's right. Got to make a splash. Oh, actually, Ray, I got to show you something. Hold on. Do you remember making this?
Oh, yes. It was an online thing. Yes, that's very cool.
I know. I'll do it in this camera here. There, look at these. Me with Ryan Seacrest. There I am.
I love those shots of you in the umbrella. Those are my favorite shots of you.
I know. Oh, and now I was, look at those boots. Crazy. I was going into a cemetery, and there's...
Oh, I know you were crying, but it was just such a precious moment on TV.
It was a precious moment on TV, and here we are at the Woolworth Mansion.
Yes, you were doing something to make sure we all were protected from the ghosts.
I was. Oh, and there's this crazy woman. She was absolutely fantastic. What was her name?
She was great. Every time you'd say something, she goes, "Oh my God, I need a tranquilizer."
Oh my God, she was hilarious.
I'm getting all this stuff.
What was her name? I can't remember.
Monica.
That's right, Monica. And there we are doing a seance.
Yeah, you're doing a seance, and all of a sudden you say, "I am out of here."
Yeah, I know. And then this was the start. This was the studio shot. The studio shoot of the.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was really kind of awesome. Oh, and here is all my promo stuff. This is like...
Oh, yes.
And
that's
Super
all.
Nanny.
There's a lot more.
And Joe Frost became a friend of mine. So that was really awesome. And then we had Oprah.
Yes, Oprah. Now, can I tell you the Oprah story?
Yeah.
Now, this is just rumor. Okay, when you were brought on to Oprah...
Right.
Merv was about to start producing, behind me, Merv Griffin's Crosswords.
Right.
Oprah allegedly was about to start producing her own crossword show. So she was ticked off, and that's why she wasn't very nice to you, is because she was ticked off that Merv was going to do a crossword show and you were part of his team.
Really?
That's the rumor I've been told.
Huh, well, I mean, I always thought it was me.
It wasn't about you, no. It was about the crosswords. Apparently, that's what I've been told.
Well, that puts it all into perspective.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
Because you didn't deserve what they did to you on Oprah. You totally did not.
Well, not only that, and contrary to what anybody wants to believe, is I was not treated nicely by the person herself. So, and it is what it is. But it does put a lot of things into perspective. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. But this is like
what I heard.
Crazy seeing all of this stuff. Oh my gosh. Oh, look.
Oh, that's the fake house you were living in.
That was the fake house I was living in. Let's talk about the fake house that I was living in. Fake house. I walked in and out of some stranger's house. How many times that day? Probably 50, 60 times that day. It was crazy.
And we had to drive out and drive back in and drive out.
But that was the only thing that was staged in the whole TV show.
True.
It was the only thing that was staged, and my kitchen was not my own. And look, this is like the greatest, Lisa.
Oh, see, you should do more stage shows. They are so fascinating.
I have got a stage show coming up.
We shot that one in LA, and I tried to get Lifetime to add an episode, because it was so good.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, sorry, we don't have the budget."
Yeah, and it was great. So here he is. I'm sure we can't put this on camera, but here he is. My number one fan. It says, "Lisa, thanks for not fucking it up. I'll always be your number one fan." Love, Ray.
Well, see, that's what I always say to my news anchors and my talent. Right as we're going live, I'll click in their ear, "Don't fuck this up." Just through with them and keep them on. And then occasionally I'll look at them right as we're going on the air and say, "Are you seriously going to wear that?"
Oh, you do that to me all the time. You haven't done it to me today, thank God. Oh my God. All right, so let's go through where did all these questions come from?
I had thousands and thousands of questions that I wanted to ask, and I never end up doing it. So I'm going to start with a really weird one.
All right, ask me away. All right, do I need to be in Witchy Woo mode for this?
You decide.
All right. Oh God,
I've been told that when mediums are around gardeners and stuff, when the gardeners are mowing the lawns, mediums can hear the blades of grass screaming because they're being cut. Is that true?
Where the hell are you getting all of this from?
I'm telling you what I've heard. I don't know if that's true.
All right. So I'm not going to say no to that. I'm going to talk about me. No, I don't do that. However, there are some people that are super, super sensitive. And if they are attuned to living, breathing energies that are outside, then that may be what they're hearing. However, no, not for me.
I never knew this either until very recently, that there are two kinds of trees. There are male trees and female trees.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And have you ever heard them talk?
What's that?
Have you ever heard trees talk?
No, not at all.
Trees talk. And there are some devices that you can get that you can put onto a tree and you can actually hear them communicate. It's like this high pitched whisper, and it's crazy. But yeah.
Do ghosts watch us in the shower?
All right. Let's just get something right. Okay. Let me just say ghosts and spirits. Let me help you understand what ghosts are. So ghosts, to me, are those people that have not quite crossed over, that they are lurking in houses, in places, because they haven't gone into the light. Spirits, to me, are the ones that have gone into the light. Now, ghosts, because they might be more earthbound, may watch you in the shower. May.
But do ghosts and or spirits have that interest in sex like we do as humans?
So Gene Simmons asked me this. Gene Simmons said, "Do they still?"
I talked to him the other day. How's he doing?
Oh, he was great. Yeah, he asked me this, and he said, "Do they still do the schnooky?" I think he's called it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So, okay, so ghosts ghosts, earthbound energies may be interested. Maybe, because it's a physical activity. Ghosts themselves, maybe. Spirits, I believe, want to. It's not like there is a life that they're trying to recreate. It's almost as though it's a beautiful place. It's a sanctuary. It's a space. So physical acts of intimacy are done differently. Physical acts, it's like two souls combining, coming together, that creates this powerful connection of energies. There is no, I don't believe that there is sex, although I'm intrigued to see if there is.
You're standing in line at a grocery store waiting for the checkout.
Okay.
There's this really hot dude in front of you.
Right.
Are you able to read him? Are you able to know what he's thinking, who he is, what he does?
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. So I don't, I'm not a mind reader. I don't want to get into people's minds. I don't want to know any of that. All right. So I don't. I will sometimes sit at an airport or look at people and go, what's their story? But I would never do that. It's an invasion of privacy. Could I potentially tap into his energy? Of course I could, but I certainly wouldn't, because it's an invasion of privacy.
It's an invasion of privacy if you shared it with me, but if you just kept it to yourself, wouldn't that? Come on, you were telling me you've never. Wait, you telling me you've never invaded people's privacy with this amazing gift that you have that most of us don't?
I've tried not to. I've definitely tried not to. However, I have actually. I remember being in a very intimate moment with somebody, and their former person had passed away, and I heard them give me some pointers from the other side.
Did you take those pointers, and did that prove successful?
It did prove very successful. But that was it. I don't actually think I've really invaded anyone's privacy. It's always
come on, how can you not?
No, well, why? I wouldn't want anyone to
walk around. When I walk around people I work with or whatever, I'm just thinking, well, what's your story?
Well, yeah, of course. I'm like, what's their story? I always want to know what their story is.
Psychically read them and find out what's going on.
I'm always wrong. You know, there has been times, I will tell you, there have been times, and I think this is where Man on the Street came. Do you remember when we did Man on the Street? And I remember you said to me, I remember walking into a store, and I remember saying to my former husband, she's had problems with the boyfriends, da 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 da.
Yes,
and he
was amazing.
And he said yes. And that's where Man on the Street came. But I think way back then, I would have done that. I don't do it now. Yeah. And I'm known not to do that.
Well, again, I'm saying you don't do that for other people, but for yourself. Why wouldn't you use that advantage if it gives you an advantage, whether it's, in negotiating your next TV show or...
Oh, well, that... negotiating a TV show and like diving into somebody who's standing in a Starbucks line and going, you're really attractive, what's your story? It's different. Don't get me wrong. When I was dating and I would swipe left and swipe right, of course I would look at that and I would use my intuition. I wouldn't necessarily use my gift. I would use my intuition on it.
All right. Next question.
You don't seem happy with that story.
I don't believe it for a second, but I'll move on. You're watching a movie.
Okay.
Can you see ghosts who were present at the time that movie was being shot?
Now, are we talking about a movie that was specifically in a haunted house or like some paranormal show?
Jurassic Park, and they're creating these monsters, and there's what's her name standing there, and suddenly you can see a ghost behind her that nobody else can see.
Okay, so in paranormal TV shows, I can absolutely see that. All right. So paranormal, definitely I can do that. And I don't like to watch paranormal shows. Jurassic Park, things like that, not really, because of all of the animation, the music, the this, the that. I think I just get into my own. I'm very, very present, so it's just all my neurochemicals sort of like flying off, which is exactly why they create the shows exactly the way that they do, to create some form of panic scare, anxiety, adrenaline. I don't see it.
Paranormal shows, here's what annoys me about them.
Okay, tell me, Ray.
These guys with these little electronic things, and they're reading this and they're reading that, but they don't have any psychic knowledge to be able to find out what the hell's wrong with this ghost and why are they so mean, whereas you did that all the time. So I can't watch paranormal shows because they don't have any answers. They're just saying, oh, he might have said the word hello, listen slowly.
Right.
Oh, that's their whole gimmick. You can say she didn't say hello. She said, "Get the hell out of my house. I hate you. I don't want to see you."
Okay, so I will say there are more paranormal shows now that are involving mediums. So paranormal has primarily been like technology, and I'm looking around because I actually have some of this equipment. But they look at technology and they're trying to have the skeptical mind to try to prove it. Now, you have got shows, with Jack Osborne, where I've been on that show and I have been on there and I've given them the story and then they've gone on with their electronics and with the information. There's shows with Cindy Kaiser where they've gone on and she does automatic writing and communicating with the spirit. And I think now TV are needing to actually bring together the modalities together. And it does give it more validation. It gives it more, I don't know, it just feels more solid when you have
emotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
These ghosts that you see, you said this is remnant energy. Mm-hmm. Are ghosts, are they conscious? I mean, could they talk to me and they could answer questions, or are they just replaying energy over and over again that they've replayed for hundreds of years since they died?
Okay, so this is a really good question. Okay, so let's talk about residual energy. So imagine that somebody has lived in a house for 40 years, okay, and they were a post person. They work for the post office, postmaster. They would get every single morning at 4 a.m., they would get up, go to the bathroom, go back to bed, then tidy the bed, then get up and then go downstairs and get their coffee, then come back to bed. And they created a residual energy between these areas. Now, at 4 a.m., let's say you bought that house and then you get up at 4 a.m. and you're like, oh my gosh, I am feeling the energy of somebody walking from the bed to the bathroom, back to there, and then down the stairs, then up. That is residual energy because somebody has created a pattern, a residual pattern in the energy of the house. Unless that is cleared, and we can do that by simple saging, we can do it by noise. There are certain ways that we can actually clear houses. That is residual energy, okay? And it's not a ghost. Some people mistake it for a ghost, okay? You've seen it so many times where I'm like, there's nothing in here. Why are we here? Then there are times that you can feel the ghost, and the ghost is going to want to communicate. Because here's what the thing is about paranormal, and I have a great paranormal expert we should bring on the show. The thing is about paranormal is that ghost, that energy that is trapped, that energy that is here, all it wants is to be heard. All it wants is to have their story told, to be heard. So of course they're going to try to get their story to you. So any ghost that is trying to get your attention is wanting their story to be heard. And actually a lot of paranormal is really history.
So ghosts then are conscious beings who theoretically you could have a back and forth conversation with in the room.
Of course you can.
Okay,
like I do with spirit.
Well, but their spirit, they've moved on.
That doesn't make any difference. It doesn't matter. It's still energy.
So if a ghost is trapped, it's not just replaying walking, to the bathroom at 4 a.m. every morning.
No, that's
It
residual
actually
energy.
speak to you and talk to you and knock things off the table.
Right, exactly. Now, I will tell you, the movie Ghost, they got that very, very accurate. They got it so accurate where just the way that Patrick Swayze was working about pushing the can off the train, that was so powerful, because that's exactly what it's like. Is you can't just immediately assume that you can do that. It's a lot of training. You're training your energy. It's this energetic approach to it. It's quite powerful.
You have talked to zillions of spirits.
Right.
Why can't one of them just tell us who shot JFK?
Oh my God, are you still on this?
Why can't we find out things that we can only learn? First of all, if I die today, will I know instantly who killed JFK? Will I know all these things that I don't know now?
Maybe.
But maybe not.
Maybe not. I'll be honest with you. And this is where I think a lot of people make the mistake, is that they make the mistake to think that spirit is going to tell them exactly what's going to happen in their life, and that spirit is in control. Spirit is not in control. All right. We have a life path. We have a contract. I've got to do this, 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 this. How you get there is a whole different thing. So when it comes to finding out history, yes, you can go into the Hall of Records. Yes, you can look things up. But at that point, what is the point? So let me just explain this. What is the point of doing it? Because we have to realize that there was a reason why JFK came in with the life contract to get assassinated. Okay. What was that reason for? Because had he not have been assassinated, we could have been in a totally different place. And so, you've wanted me to even go to the location. I mean, you have said it time and time again. I want you to know if there's
I
someone.
want you to go there. I want you to talk to the people who were there at the time. I want you to find out who actually did it. Why can't we know that? Why can't they tell us that?
We know it. They already do know it. People know it.
People? You mean dead people?
No, I think real life people.
Well, some. I mean, I'm obsessed with that. I've read all the books where all these people are being murdered to keep the secret and all this kind of stuff. It's totally fascinating.
Right.
But it just seems to me that as someone who can talk to the dead, can't you just say, hey, can you ask one of your spirit guides to talk to JFK's spirit guides and tell us what happened?
Well, how about we try just to communicate with JFK themselves?
That's
and then
fine.
You get more information. You see, it's like my spirit guide. Oh, I used to do this actually. You asked me about my invasion of privacy. Yeah,
Good. See, I knew you were.
So I was with somebody, right? And it was an awful relationship, narcissistic relationship, awful. And I used to say to my spirit guide, I used to go, Ben, can you tell their spirit guide can you try to influence their spirit guide? Oh my God, I tried so hard. And then I just had to walk away. That was a very public breakup. But anyway, yeah.
But the spirit guides wouldn't do it?
No, all it was, it's your lesson, Lisa. It's your lesson. It's your lesson. I'm like, screw my lesson.
But, there gets a time where I'm tired of learning, okay?
I know. I was tired of learning in that relationship. I was tired of it.
I realize we're here for lessons. I realize that Earth is the greatest university in the universe.
Right.
And we're all here because it's tough and it's very dense and we have to learn lessons and all this stuff. But, once in a while, JFK has been dead for 60 years. Why can't somebody just tell us who did it? If you could create readings where you have conversations with people, like today she's going to talk to JFK and find out what really happened.
No, let's do it. Let's try it, because I did it with I've done it with a couple of other people where they're actually trying to research history. They were trying to write a book or do a movie, and they were wanting to communicate with these people. So, I mean, it's very possible, as long as you can. And I think this is the thing, Ray, as long as you can verify, for me, the type of person that this person was, like the type of person that JFK was, and I can give you information and you will be able to verify it. Because what that does is evidence helps me feel like I'm connected. Otherwise, in my mind, this is what goes through a medium's brain. I'm making this shit up. Oh my God, this is so far-fetched. I feel like I'm making this shit up. But that's what sometimes goes through our head. But we're really not. We're actually communicating. But until there's some evidence or validation, we can, in our mind, we feel like we're just making this shit up and we're like, whatever, we're floating around in space. So it's really about making sure, for me, it's about making sure there's some facts that I can validate, and then I'll feel more confident. I think that's the biggest thing. So I'll feel more confident in giving the information that I get.
I'm debating whether to say this or not, but I'm mystified that people in the 21st century still live by myths from the first century.
Well, true, but what they are doing is they're living by a book. And listen, I've just got to preface this. Do I believe in a higher power? Yes. Do I believe in God? Yes. Do I believe all of this? Absolutely. But they're living by a book of stories that was written 7 centuries after the fact. So, all of these stories, these things have changed, and they are down to subject and interpretation, which is one of the things what I like about it, because there's definitely a core belief in the Bible, and there's definitely a core structure. And I do feel that we need some form of structure and principles in daily life. But I agree with you. There is a lot of questionable things in the Bible, and there's a lot of questionable things, and especially when we communicate with spirit, saying that we can't. Jesus was a healer. If we look at it, Jesus was an absolute healer, and he went on and he taught, real fundamental facts of life, real fundamental, like treat thy neighbor as thyself, and being able to have these core elements and these fundamental parts of us, I think is very important. But you're absolutely right, it is, but it's all down to interpretation. I have had somebody who was super 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 religious come to me, was questioning whether or not he was even going to come. And then he even told me, he said, I may not make it that day. And when he did come, I don't even remember it because I was booking like 6 months in advance for me. And when he did come and have a reading with me, he said, I wasn't going to come, but God told me to come. He said, I'm so glad that I did. And I went, okay, so this is good. I believe that my gift is a gift from God. And so, I know many mediums who are strongly devout Catholics or Christians or whoever they are. I know so many mediums who are Jewish. And I think it's really important that we have a faith or we have a belief, but we have to be very open to our gift now, because there's scientific evidence to prove that what I do is actually a brain process, and we're able to communicate. There's so much science now out there where previously there was not science. It was energy that you can't prove. You can't touch it. It's not tangible.
Why are people so afraid to question their core beliefs? My parents raised me Catholic. I understand they were doing exactly what they thought was supposed to be done, because they were raised Catholic, their grandparents, all that. But I just didn't buy it from day one. And all my grade school and high schools were all Catholic, and I never bought it. And I thank God that I kept as my adulthood, I would keep going to these bookstores looking for an answer, looking for what is the answer, what is going on. It wasn't the Bible. It wasn't other forms of self-help. I just didn't find that until if I'm going to create a religion, it's the religion of Lisa Williams. I know that's ridiculous, and I don't believe that, but
Right.
you're the one who dramatically changed how I see things, because I never realized that, reincarnation was an actual thing and it could actually happen, because no one in my growing up years ever mentioned the word to me. It was never something that I believed. Now it's all I believe.
Right. And I'm glad that I had a positive impact on you. But I think
And clearly, like, again, we were supposed to meet and you were supposed to have that impact on me. Why aren't other people getting impacted like that?
I think they are, but people are scared. So we have to realize that there's a lot of fear in society. And there's a lot of dogma, there's a lot of religion that is based on fear. And when we look at what fear is when we're trying to move away from a lifestyle that most people have been drummed into them from a young child, it has become their core belief. And so if we look at, there's science on this. If we look at studies of children up until the age of 5 or 7, you will find that their core beliefs that have been really drummed into them at the age of 5, before 7 years old, then become their way of life, if they are very, very driven by fear. Now, there are some people, and this is the reason why I think I have so many people hit the age of 50 and they come and study with me, because they're starting to realize I am not my mom. I am not my mom's beliefs. I'm not my dad's beliefs. I'm not my grandparents' beliefs. And finally, what they're doing is there's something astrologers will talk about it. You hit your Chiron return at 50. And at the age of 50, you then start questioning what your true belief is in your life. And so what's happening is at that point, they're starting to see who they really are and what they're challenging their belief system that they've had since they were a child. I was just very fortunate, and I really see this. I was very fortunate where, yes, my dad was, an absolute atheist, but my mum was so open. My grandmother was speaking to dead people when I was like 7 years old. So I was very fortunate to be in a very open-minded family. And so I think that's the part here that we have to realize is it's driven by a lot of fear.
It's driven by fear, but I think, there are the two R's in our lives that are driven by our core beliefs. The first is
Mm-hmm.
religion, the
Mm-hmm.
second is racism, and they're
Right.
both taught by our parents.
Right. Of course they are. Yeah. Well, they're taught from generations, and it's taught from generations because the parents have been informed about it from their parents, and their parents have been informed by somebody else. And then we also add history into it as well. So there's certain historical things that have happened. But you're right. And here's where I think for me, it's been a very challenging time, me moving to America, because we dealt with religion and racism when I was a child, and so all of this stuff that's been happening recently has been, I won't say alien to me because it hasn't been. I have a daughter who is Puerto Rican, so I see it from I see it from two angles. And I also almost married somebody who was not white. And so I saw that racism firsthand, where people would walk across the other side of the road because there was two people walking down the street who clearly loved each other, but were come from different cultures. And I mean, the names that we got called was unbelievable. However, I think, back in the day in the UK, we dealt with this like years ago, but I feel like America's been behind the times in a little bit of it. It's quite weird.
Oh, America's definitely behind the times in a lot of things. I mean, the most horrific thing you could ever do to me is to see me naked. I mean, in this country, we are so protective of our nudity.
Mm-hmm.
We are so
Yeah.
shamed by our bodies, which I still am to this day.
Right.
Um, But again, that was something that I grew up with. That's something that was in my culture from day one. The nuns, the priests, all that stuff.
Right.
I mean,
And
I went to a Catholic school, but the public schools, the boys had a swimming pool and they all had to swim naked. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, would I just die if I had to do that? That and I'm not, as a kid at least, I was in shape. I wasn't ugly, none of that stuff. There's nothing wrong with me except in my brain.
right. And it's because of conditioning. And
Exactly.
so this is the problem, Ray. So it's because of the conditioning that we have had and the trauma that we have had. That's the reason why I am now so driven, because I see it in readings time and time and time again, where they're saying, what is wrong with me? What is this health problem? I'm like, well, you were ridiculed as a child. This happened. I've had it. So, I have it before where, people say to me, what is going on with my son? Why is he this way? And I'm like, well, he was bullied as a child. Yeah, well, he did the bullying, or he was the bully. I'm like, but the bullying had to be learnt from somewhere.
Yes,
He was
exactly.
bullied as a child. And I said, and that's what's taken him. They're like, well, yes, he says he was bullied, and so there's a lot of defenses from parents, including myself. I'm a parent. And there's a lot of defenses that we put up because we don't want to question how we actually brought our children up or the things that we did. I know I am really, I wish I could do my time again with Charlie, because I certainly wouldn't do things in certain ways because it was just the way that, I was brought up. Same with my daughter. When my daughter came to live with me at the age of 14, I was repeating things that my mum would say to me. And now I'm like, I really shouldn't. My mum is the greatest thing, listen, but she was taught by her parents. Okay. And so there was a lot of stuff that was said. And I think it's really about how we were brought up, and it's that cycle of trauma, that cycle of abuse. There has to be a point that we stop. And I would like to say that I have probably stopped certain things in my family. And I know I have. And I have a very good relationship with my parents. I certainly I don't blame them for anything. Parents are all trying to do the best that they can based on the lessons that they had.
Right.
And
No,
that's
I
what it
totally
is,
agree.
period.
If I can do a shameless plug, I'm the master of bullying. I've written a whole book about it, and I've created all these amazing pictures of
Wow.
every event in my life that was from bullying. So I understand that bullying is a horrific problem. I am so thankful that social media didn't exist when I was in grade school and high school, because it would have been 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, it is. And Ray, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
But
You
see,
know?
here's the other question. Did I do something in a previous life? Was I a bully in a previous life? Was this karma coming back to me?
It could be the fact that it is your balancing of karma. But also, Ray, let's look at this. If you hadn't been bullied, maybe you wouldn't have been the person that you are to bring justice in the world for your news, because you were driven by the news for so long, and that was your life. You created and produced TV shows and news shows. And so maybe that was the reason why you had to go through that bullying, to actually get justice and bring justice out into the world.
Well, I didn't get to hardly any of my questions, but I think we've learned a lot and had a lot of information passed on. And I've
Yeah,
learned a lot from this session.
good. Well, I'm glad. I'm sure there'll be more that you'll want to ask as well. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us. All right, these are the quiet conversations that Ray and I have, and we decided that we were going to film them. So thanks for joining us. And if you have any questions yourself, pop them in the chat. We would love to know what they are, and maybe we'll answer them next time. Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember, the information shared on this podcast is meant to inspire and support you, but it's not a replacement for personalized advice from a qualified professional. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to tune in next time. Until then, take care and keep believing in something better.